Alright, this is take 5, I believe, of this stupid video. My puppy is driving me insane. I'm babysitting my baby cousin. She's 2 months old. And she's finally sleeping, so hopefully she stays like. Just got finished watching the pilot episode of Supernatural for the 1000th time. First time in a while though, probably a month or so. And so I just want to go through what happens in the pilot and just make little comments about it, what I like, and then do my rating at the end. Alright, so I think Supernatural pilot is one of the best pilots you will probably see. For the most part, pilots I think are not done very well. They usually give way too much information. They try to set up all the characters, all their backgrounds, and drive the plot, and usually it just becomes this muddled mess, and pilots usually just really suck. Supernatural does not. I think Supernatural is probably one of the top pilots you will see. It's an episode that I absolutely love watching. I love how they set up right off the bat that this is a loving family. John and Mary, the parents, adore each other. Just in their few interactions that they show, you can tell that they truly love and respect each other. They love their kids. Dean is older. He's 4 years old at the beginning of the pilot, and Sam is 6 months old. So about 2 minutes into the pilot, it starts getting creepy right away, which I love. You hear Sam crying, and Mary goes to check on him, and she thinks John is taking care of him, and she finds out it's not John, it's and John finds her screaming on the ceiling, covered in blood, and the house catches on fire. What a way to open an episode. I mean, really, right off the bat, you get pulled in. It's just fantastically done. The pacing was perfect. Mary's on the ceiling, catching on fire, and Dean grabs Sam and takes him out of the house. And this really sets up how Dean is constantly taking care of Sam throughout his entire life. Any flashback that we see in Supernatural, Dean is the one parenting Sam. John is barely in the picture. When Mary was alive, I think John was a very wonderful parent. The flashback episodes we've seen in like season 4 and 5, I absolutely love John, and I love Mary. They are absolutely the cutest couple ever. And you can tell that he is a loving, doting person. However, when Supernatural actually gets started and it's 22 years later, I do not think John was a very good father. That's something I will probably have a whole video on. I know a lot of people like John. A lot of people think he is a wonderful father. I do not. I think he is kind of a crappy father. I mean, look how he brought his kids up. Case in point. Dean, whether Sam likes to admit it or not, Dean has really been the one raising Sam. John is like the father that comes in every other week and gives his few words of wisdom and then goes out hunting again. So we flash forward 22 years later, and we're in the present for the first season of Supernatural. Sam is not with his family anymore. He's in law school. He has a girlfriend. He has a normal life. He's gone to college. He graduated high school. And he's gotten out of the family business. Nobody around him even knows where he came from. They don't know what type of life he has had before. Then Dean comes back, and that really sets the plot forward. Dean comes back, he says, Dad's missing. Sam says, so what, you know, he's been missing before. But Dean's like, he's on a hunting trip, and he's been missing, and he can't get a hold of him. So this is really what sets the plot in motion. This is setting up the season-long arc finding Dad and finding what really killed their mom. That's why they got into hunting. That's why they got into this hunting evil business, because of their mom. How to shoot guns, how to throw knives, how to kill all these evil creatures because of their dad. Sam got out, Dean's pulling him right back in. They obviously haven't been in contact in a while. The pilot, there's a little tension between the two. But Dean goes right back into the role of older brother. And Sam really doesn't want to have anything to do with it, but he does because it's his dad. So they go to where thought their dad was going to be. This sets up the monster of the week, which is Woman in White. A Woman in White, I believe, I probably get this wrong, but a woman in white is a woman who has killed herself after her husband has been cheating. So this woman in white in particular killed her children and then killed herself when she found out her husband was cheating. And now she's taking it upon herself to haunt people men who are also cheating. Sam and Dean weren't necessarily looking for a hunt. They were looking for their dad, but this is what they stumble into. And I really like that they start the series with a myth or urban legend that not very many people have heard about. I had never heard about it when I first watched the pilot episode. I'd never heard of a Woman in White. Now I have. I mean, I've looked on Wikipedia. Every time there's a new thing on Supernatural, I look it up to see what they've changed or what they've added to it or what they've kept the same. Because Supernatural does things different, just like every other show. Even with similar creatures, Supernatural does them different. And if they had done something with that most people know, like vampires or werewolves or even ghosts or ghouls, people would be thinking in their back of their mind, this isn't how it's supposed to be. This isn't how vampires are supposed to be. People with popular creatures like that, people get set in their mind of how things are supposed to be, and when it changes, it doesn't go over very well. So it's good that they chose an urban legend that is not very popular, so they could go with what they wanted to on it and not have this uproar about what they changed. I think it helped people not become prejudiced against the show right away. Later on they do, the more popular things, but right off the bat they do creatures that are not as popular, which I think was very smart of them to do. We learn a lot about the character interactions. Dean and Sam are hilarious together. Their interactions are the best part of this show. I would not be watching this show if it was like, I want to say Fringe. I like Fringe, but some of the characters are a little boring, except for Walter, who was the cutest thing ever on TV. Sam and Dean they love each other to death, but they drive each other nuts, especially Dean. Dean likes to pick on Sam all the time, especially when he calls him Sammy. I think that's adorable. It's so cute when he does that, and Sam gets so upset. Especially during the first season, that's the source of contention for them. You also learn little bits here and there of what their life was growing up. They don't do it in one big exposition. Look, this is what our life was. Blah, blah, blah. That would have been boring. I don't want to hear it. I want to see it. I want to see the action. I want to see how they actually grew up. And you can tell in their movements and the way they react to certain situations of how they were raised. Exposition of, Sam saying, when I said I was afraid of the thing in the closet, I didn't want a gun, but that's what Dad gave me. Dean is the good son. In his mind, he is the loyal son. He does everything his dad says. He does not question him whatsoever. He takes orders and does whatever is necessary to get things done. Sam is the one that broke away from the family. He questions his dad. He does not believe his dad is perfect. Supernatural, the first episode, sets up how they're going to use music. Classic rock, I think, fits this show perfectly. They use it in almost every episode of Supernatural, and I have every song downloaded, and I can probably tell you, at least with the first season, what songs were in which episode. I think they choose their songs on purpose, and each of their song has some sort of message that goes behind each episode, and another thing that Supernatural just does brilliantly. You also learn that they're con men in this episode. They have so many fake IDs, they can't exactly, use their real names. They'd be thrown in jail, or they'd be thrown in the psychiatric hospital. So I think they set that up brilliantly. You can tell that Sam is the one that is going to be the one that digs into things, researches, does the library, the geeky stuff, and Dean is the one that does the action, but digs into the heart of the situation and fixes things. He likes to fix things. I think he has a savior complex, but I love that about them. These characters are not perfect. They all have very deep flaws, and it is what makes watching it so fascinating. Character development, I gave it 22 out of 22. This episode is so well done. You learn so much about Sam and Dean just in the 45 minutes. I know what Dean is going to do, and I know what Sam is going to do, because I already know these characters and I love them, and I can dig into their minds and, say, okay, this is what Sam's going to think about this situation, this is what Dean's going to think about this situation, and this is what they're each going to want to do. Good balance between emotional pull and action driven. I also gave a 17 out of 17. This episode pretty much had a perfect balance between being emotionally invested in the episode and action. You have the emotional investment from the very beginning. Their mom died, and it drives them forward. And then at the very end of the episode, Jessica dies in the same way. So that pulls him back into the hunting business. Very well done. Effective use of music, like I said, I loved it. 5 out of 5. Makeup and special effects, not the best. It's the pilot, so I am pretty forgiving, but I've come to expect more from Supernatural, so I gave it an 8 out of 10. Overall story quality of the week, 26 out of 27. What this episode lacks in quality of the monster of the week, it more than makes up for tight storytelling and setting for the entire season. I don't think Woman in White is the best urban legend ever, but like I said, I think it was a really good one to start with. Monster of the week, like I just said, not my favorite monster, but we do get some good gross blood splatters. So 7 out of 10. Acting, superb. There is not one faulted acting in this. Even the kids, they had 2 minutes of lines and they were fine. Little Dean was adorable, saving Sam out of the fire. 5 out of 5 on that one. And then contributing season-long arc, 4 out of 4. The pilot is what sets up for what they're going to be fighting for this entire season, and next season, and the next season. Supernatural season-long arcs are some of the best in TV, and I love season 1. Season 1 is probably my favorite season of Supernatural. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I really like it. Total 94. I know this video is really long. I'll try to shorten my reviews a little, but it's hard to not talk about the pilot without explaining a lot of things for people that may not have watched it as many times as I have. And I'll get into more detail as the season goes on, but so that's my first review. Let me know how you like it, what you want more of, what you want less of. I know I can cut out on the ums and ands and sound like an idiot sometimes, but yeah, so let me know what you think. Thanks.